I am curious, Thomas, to get your raw and unfiltered reaction to the CPI report yesterday. Came in a little bit hot month over month at 0.4%, above the 0.3% estimate. And the year over year number in core, 3.8% over the 3.7% expected month over month, 0.4%, which is also hot. Tom, I need you to help me make sense of this big, complicated report. How do I position on the back end of CPI, Thomas? Give me your read on that report yesterday.
I think that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams with the first pick. That's my read on that report. Like nothing, there's literally not one thing in the entire world I could care less about than yesterday's CPI report. I gave my end of day talk yesterday during last
you did
call.
A rant on this already?
I did not do a rant on CPI exactly, specifically because I think it's ridiculous for people to waste 1 second of good airtime talking about.
We did a whole show on it. I did a full 60 minutes with Ilya.
That's why we put you guys on after the close.
They call me nights and weekends around here.
All right, that's why we put you guys on late. But the only thing I said, which I think which I obviously will stand by, is
reiterate.
The Fed has one tool that nobody else in the world has, which is unlimited resources and unlimited time.
That would be 2. I'm not trying to make trouble here.
The Fed has unlimited resources and unlimited time. And because of that, they can wait forever. And they're going to eventually be right. And nothing else matters to them. So they're not relevant to traders. Like any report like CPI, PPI, EPI, whatever else is out there, UPI, none of it matters other than for short-term trading opportunities. Like if you want an opportunity to get long, maybe the NASDAQ yesterday, I don't know, maybe, or bonds, maybe that was the opportunity. But other than that, like people that try to read into the report need to find a better life for themselves. Because it's just a function of waiting, and I don't think there's anything to talk about with respect to the report. How's that? For my honest wrap up.
I used to come in here and just bang my head against the wall, take the other side of this position. I'm not going to do it, Tom. I'm not going to fall for that bait.
Look at you growing up. I like it.
What I actually want to do with the remainder of our time, my friend, is I want to put we do a little segment on our show called The Hot Seat.
Okay, good. I like the hot seat.
And in the hot seat, what we like to do is ask people tough questions, maybe quasi-political questions, things that people don't answer anymore. Things that
I'll answer. Ask me anything you want. Ask me quasi-political. Ask me political. I don't care what.
Even ask him a quasi-moto question.
Ask me anything you want.
Too. Don't worry about it.
I'm aware you don't mind answering questions. So I want to put your brains over bots philosophy in the hot seat.
Okay.
What I mean by this is Andy Jassy wrote his annual letter. And again, I know you're big on reading these annual letters.
So I love a little Andy Jassy. I didn't get my Andy Jassy annual letter, so I really don't know what he said.
Spam, I saw it.
Oh, it is in my spam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get over there.
Oh man, how did I miss the Andy Jassy annual letter?
The point is, they are, same thing theme you're hearing from other companies, which is investing in AI and lowering costs. Musk said the other day, AI will be smarter than humans in 5 years.
Okay.
You have always said to the individual investor, you've always rallied the individual investor around this brains over bots mantra. And I wonder, now that we are creeping towards generative AI, where the potential for bots is to be much smarter than human beings at a very low incremental cost, I wonder what you think about AI as a business leader, as an investor, and as a guy who sold me on this mantra of brains over bots. How does that mantra translate into a new world of AI and generative artificial intelligence?
Oh, I'm really glad you asked this question, because I think this is an area that I think this is a question I can shine on.
He thinks he can excel.
I can excel in this area.
Who says that? Who even says that?
What? That I can
Go ahead.
shine? Yeah, that's okay.
Who pre-answers a question with "I'm glad you asked this question. This is one I can really shine at." All right, go
I
ahead.
can excel. How's that?
Okay.
All right, and this is going to be, I believe, one of the most rational things you're ever going to see me take with respect to one of your topics, because this one to me is the absolute layup. AI, I'm not actually going to dispute anything that that your buddy Andy Jassy says, that Elon Musk says. I do believe that, in very general terms, AI is going to afford us an incredible, brilliant access to brilliance for virtually anybody. It's going to be like when I was a kid, figuring out a calculator for the first time, so I didn't have to do math, or using a computer for the first time, and all this kind of stuff. AI is next gen in that sense. And what it's going to allow us to do as a consumer and as a people is, it is going to allow us to become much more efficient and much smarter as it relates to things that we currently don't understand. So right now, one of the reasons that in the world of finance, one of the reasons that I feel that the financial service industry is still living in the dark ages is because people are actually very afraid of the learning curve that to get from point A to point B. So they still use big firms and traditional financial vehicles to manage their money, and they pay this crazy amount of fees. There's a huge ARB opportunity that's about to come down the path as people have access to information and they become smarter, and essentially we ARB out all the fees in financial service. What it's also going to do is it is going to eliminate the myth that, hey, this person, if AI is smarter or can be smarter than people, that means as long as everybody has access, and they will, that means it eliminates any advantage or perceived advantage that anybody has over anybody else. So in the end, what's going to happen in the world of finance is we're going to have access to information, to learning, and to whatever completely levels the playing field, so that for the self-directed investor, there's absolutely no reason for you to ever, in other words, the bots will normalize the playing field, and the brains then become the strategies that you use, because the markets will be, the markets are already too efficient to be arbed out by AI. The example I love to use is that if you take a stock like the SPY, just as a starting point, the S&P 500, it's the notional value of 100 shares of SPY is $50,000. Let's say it's actually higher than that, but let's just say it's $50,000. The market's a penny wide. There is no advantage for AI there's nothing for AI to arb out in a penny wide market on $50,000. It's literally a penny wide. So on 100 shares, you're talking about 1 cent. Or $1, I'm sorry. What ends up happening in the end is that the person that wants to outperform when everything else has been commoditized or normalized is the person that uses their own brain that cannot be commoditized. And therefore, brains over bots is something that we just mentioned, created, and built around kind of a philosophical foundation around that, just that whole philosophy of trading. But it becomes that much more valuable in the future because it will be truly the only differentiator, but it will allow so many more people to play the game. So the exciting thing about AI is that it's going to open up finance to hundreds of millions of people that currently are scared about entering the space. And with everything else equal, it will be all about brains over bots.
Let me ask you this then.
Sure.
You've talked about the market. Even last week, you talked about the most important value that one can learn from the market is the ability to make decisions quickly,
Sure.
to improve upon their decision-making process. I
Sure.
take that to mean that the decision-making process or critical thinking is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you get. The more you build that capacity, the less you use it, the more atrophy you have. Is that the right interpretation?
Yep. Yeah.
So if I take that same ideal and I apply that,
Yeah.
let's imagine every day I'm using, instead of sitting down and working through a critical thinking problem, I'm outsourcing that critical thinking to
Sure.
a tool
Yeah, you
which
can.
does that work and gives me my answer.
Yep.
If I go 20 years doing that, Tom, at the end of that 20-year period, am I going to have greater critical thinking skills or am I going to have diminished critical thinking skills? In other words, I'm asking you,
That's a great question.
the populace themselves, if it's brains over bots and decision making and critical thinking, what happens if as an entire population we're outsourcing that critical thinking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I think my answer is going to be obvious that it can't, because the bots cannot. It is going to be incredibly difficult for the bots to differentiate themselves, and therefore the concept of critical thinking, it changes a little bit because it becomes
what version of what bot I'm using is my critical thinking. What version of AI I can afford becomes my ability.
And how you differentiate yourself, like what's going to happen is people are very adaptive and they figure out that, okay, this is who everybody is, what everybody is, and for me to differentiate myself, I have to do X, and so X will become the new it factor. Like there are going you can't make you can only normalize everything on a very general scale. There are still going to be outliers, and the outliers will be the people that use their brains over bots.
Okay, this is where I think I don't know how we're judging this, but maybe that round was like it was a draw. It was a 9-9 round, and I'm going for the 10-8 round in this one. I'm going for the knockout. This is your final blow here.
Okay, go.
As a business leader, do you want the workforce, the company, to adopt AI? Do you think that's a good idea for productivity for the business as a business leader?
100%. I never would turn my back on technology in any way, shape, or form. How could you? So of course I want the company to embrace AI, and I want it to embrace AI if it can make us a better company as far as giving people access to our content, giving people access to, simple support questions. If it can make us a better firm, why would anybody say no to that?
Do you use it?
I used it.
I looked at it.
I used it yesterday, but for things that you'd be surprised. I'm not going to get into. I don't want to say it on air, but I used it yesterday for two things that I had to do because I didn't want to research something, and so I used AI for two things. Now, ask me how valuable it was, and I will tell you right now, for one of the two things, it was completely worthless. For the other thing, I would give it, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate it as a 2. So it had no value to me yesterday for things that actually I thought it would have value for. So I was pretty disappointed. But generally speaking, I see the potential because of the speed it delivers. I haven't yet seen the practical application really work for us. I know it's going to help us.
Never going to give you the
I know,
but it gives you a decent framework, even in its infancy right now.
Yeah.
Imagine moving it. I mean, I don't want to. I like to look at things half full, not half empty. But imagine the implications it could have in, like, for accountants and things that have like paths that we can't seem to follow for taxes and other things like that. I don't know. I think it's.
Yeah, listen, I used it, Victor. I used AI a couple weeks ago to write, and I was very open about it.
What we do here is has so much.
No, I know, but I'm saying I'll give you an example. So I decided to do a talk on AI, and I used AI to write part of my talk, and then I told the people I was giving the talk to that I used AI to write part of it, and that I wanted them to see the difference between, what I wrote myself and what AI wrote. And what I found that was interesting about it is that AI did and this is AI using our own content. So this is not like, if it was outside content, it would have been worthless. But this is AI using tasty content. And what I found from it was, what AI lacks more than anything else is it truly lacks personality. Like, you can't. The challenge with AI is personality. The challenge with AI is that we are going to be, not to get into the Louis C.K. stuff, but we're going to basically be a tan car. We're going to grow up as a society of tan cars if AI is our world.
Well, I guess where
at least it's not a green car.
This to.
At
least it's not a green car, but it's going to be a tan car. And in his words, who the hell would buy a tan car? And we are going to be a society of tan cars.
It seems like there's a paradox here, and the paradox is, the leaders of companies are going to require more and more, higher and higher levels of critical thinking. But the world that we're living in, we're going to be outsourcing more and more of our critical thinking. So it seems there's a bit of a paradox, if you get where I'm going.
Like, yeah, I do.
That low-skilled or lower-skilled workers that completely adopt this technology, there's something you got to worry about, which is long-term atrophy of critical thinking capabilities. And that's especially detrimental in a world where, to get to leadership positions, the bar is going to be consistently raised on what your critical thinking capabilities need to be. So there appears to be, in this future we're headed to, a bit of a paradox, and I'm not sure how to navigate that.
It's never going to happen as long as democracy and capitalism survive. That will never happen. That is not a possible outcome in a capitalistic society. Capitalism will always supersede that, and the reason for that is because nobody will be satisfied with just being average. And there will always be a challenge to outthink, outperform, outbuild. And that's why that scenario, what people are worried about, is never, ever going to happen. Ever.
I'm a glutton for punishment, but I'm at time. Tony, can I throw one more at him? All right, last question. Mike Peipenberg, a guy who I follow, respect very much, Tom. He's well respected as well before I throw him under the bus. He said capitalism died in 2008.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Could you come up with a different adjective, perhaps?
I mean, that's the dumbest. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How can you explain the last 15 years if you think capitalism died in 2008? My argument, Vic, was that capitalism was reborn in 2009, and it came back stronger than ever. And when you think capitalism is dead, all you have to do is just look at other places, and you recognize, if capitalism is dead, then it's impossible to explain the growth in equity in U.S. financial markets over the last 15 years.
So wait a second. Okay. So you're saying because our market cap to GDP went from 50% at the depths of the global financial crisis to 200% where it is now, which is at a near all-time high, because assets are at highs, it proves what? That capitalism is reborn? That doesn't prove that we've created a bunch of distortion in our financial markets? That doesn't prove that we've removed risk and pricing of government, sovereign risk? That monetary policy has been absolutely
down here. Capitalism is a byproduct of the ability of one's ability to raise capital. And as long as capital is available, then you cannot. Your whole argument about valuations goes out the window as long as people are willing, and when I say people, as long as there's huge amounts of money willing to go into those investments and to support and invest in those companies. That is what capitalism is. That's what it is. It's basically the money flow. As long as that money flows there, capitalism is alive and well.
I wish this would have been my topic. This is our topic for next week. Are you kidding me? We need a whole hour for this.
I want a whole hour for this.
I don't.
Invite me on your show.
Wow,
All right, let's do it.
There's an invitation.
Let's do it. That's
Good.
a challenge. I'll move everything around. Let's do it.